All right, Oliver. Um, as a fellow Twitter enjoyer, I'm sure you've at least seen AI art stuff before. Um, are you familiar with Dolly 2 or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or any of the like popular AI generators?
Yeah, I'll admit that I don't really know the differences between a lot of them, but I've seen a lot of AI generated art recently, and have definitely done beginner level research um, into it. That with the wow, I'm gonna have to like formulate sentences, bro. This is gonna be 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with I've toyed around with like Dolly 2 stuff just with mainly when it was like initially hitting the Twitter sphere and like it was near unavoidable.
Yeah.
To like Demogorgon holding basketball. And then
Yeah.
like after that initial week it kind of died down, but like I've continued trying to follow somewhat.
Um, so do you, one, have you, so you haven't used um AI for like artistic inspiration or like anything like that?
I have not.
Okay. And do you have any like initial opinions on like AI image generators as a whole?
Um Yeah, I guess the current sense is that it's something to be feared in my mind. Like
Yeah.
it's already not like putting artists out of work, but it's trending toward being the cheap replacement for meaningful art.
Yeah. Okay, let me just check that I'm actually recording.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it's good. Okay. So, if you go to the first link that I sent you,
Yep.
um so there's this thing that people have noticed about a lot of the AI generators where some of the images they generate, if you input like a specific prompt or like a specific type of prompt, it'll generate these um like stock image site watermarks on its generations. And additionally, if you look at the second link that I sent you, you have to scroll down a bit to actually get to the pictures. But so in addition to the watermarks, there's also like you can see like artist signatures even that are like the AI is like trying to scrub out the signature in like the corner or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is that they're a lot of the systems, the data sets that they're using. I mean, the watermark in particular, like that literally means they didn't pay for the images from the stock sites. Um, yeah, and they're not like asking for permission to use a lot of the images that they are collecting to train the AI. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I my initial thought is it probably won't be long until um, these sites and machines have been trained to not like recognize what a watermark is, but I
Yeah,
assume humans will be doing the recognizing and train it out of doing that. Like I feel like this is probably a side effect of being pretty early in. I imagine we're early in the AI. Can you hear that?
no,
Okay, good. Um, I imagine, I imagine we're pretty early in the the whole AI where AI is going as a whole. So my guess is that that specifically probably won't stick around, but it's like such a clear
yeah,
dimension of um, like it has to take from images to do the learning.
yeah,
Like it has to have input to create an output. And yeah, I don't know. I actually have not really considered anything about like where images are being sourced from. Like in regards to like anything related to rights or copyright or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I,
So
I
another
mean,
interesting thing is that um, Stability AI, which is the company that makes Stable Diffusion, they announced a basically like the same type of generator but for music, and they said in their like announcement thing, this is the tweet I sent, that they said that it will be made using royalty-free music only because the idea is that they're scared of the music industry coming after them. And they in the thing they literally say because diffusion models are prone to memorization and overfitting, releasing a model trained on copyrighted data could potentially result in legal issues. And in I guess overfitting is the like when it like accidentally steals someone's like entire work and like puts it into the design that it creates.
Incidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So they kind of admit that they're afraid of the music industry and like creating something, you know, make me a Tame Impala type song.
Yeah.
Sounds too much like a Tame Impala song. And since it learned directly from Tame Impala songs, like that's result for legal issues.
Uh-huh.
But I guess visual art kind of is, uh, I don't know. I could throw together a stool and a bike wheel and pretend I'm Duchamp, but I that wouldn't be grounds for legal action, like trying to sell, uh,
Yeah.
the new Paula song, I guess. But wow, that's crazy that they very clearly are aware of this at least and are kind of rolling forward with it.
Yeah. Um yeah, so like and it's just like the only reason they're not doing that for art is they're not scared of anyone coming after them.
Yeah.
Okay. Next kind of incident is this one's kind of crazy. I don't know if you heard about this one, but
I don't think I have.
so there's a Twitch streamer. They were doing a live paint on their stream.
Oh, oh wait, no, I have seen.
You
Okay,
have
okay.
seen this? Okay. So they were doing a live paint like from scratch on stream for their audience, and then they were gonna post it on like Twitter or whatever afterwards. And some guy during the stream took a screenshot and then used image to image, which is like a feature. I don't know exactly which one of the tools it is, but there's some like plugin for Photoshop you can get where it like you input like a source image and then it like makes a bunch of variations of it. So he used image to image to finish the drawing and then he posted it on Twitter or whatever before the artist actually finished the drawing and posted it. And then when the artist did post it, he was like, "Yo, you have to give me credit because this is my drawing."
It's so crazy. Yeah, I think especially with the consideration of like credit
Yeah,
is like obviously that's like a somebody who's you know trying to go a little too far with taking someone's artwork and like asking for credit. But even with the yeah, that's this is so absurd to me. Yes, I did see, but and at first I thought it was fake because it was almost like too good to be true.
yeah,
Like it's
it's like
almost
too ridiculous.
um, but yeah, with like there's after the death of Kim Jong Gi, who is just like was a fantastic illustrator.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw that one
that
as well.
this is that's the thing that's gotten me the most outraged with any of this AI stuff.
Hmm.
Guy who he said, "Hi, I just trained a model to draw style as an homage," and then he asks for credit if you use it.
Oh yeah,
There, where, why are I don't know.
yeah.
It's
All right,
frustrating.
we'll
Yeah.
come back to the using other artists' art styles.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, yeah. So in regards to the Twitch stream example, I mean, I feel like I probably already know your answer, but are you concerned about like just like outright theft of like works in progress going forward? Do you think people are gonna start having to like put giant like watermarks on their if they like post works in progress?
God. Um, yeah, I mean, I all I can, like if it's happened already, I can only imagine people would try to get away with it more, and I can also only imagine that it's going to be easier to get away with because the technology is just going to be better. Like in a year's
Yeah.
time, like all of this stuff about like like watch for the fingers with the like
Hmm.
AI fingers really well yet, or like if you've seen any of the like anime girls trying to eat ramen and they always look like really demonic because like they're
Yeah.
full and half finger and
Uh-huh.
um like all of that stuff is probably going to be sorted out pretty soon. So I just um it's only going to get easier to just fucking steal people's art. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. So the next, this is the one you probably won't be able to see because it's New York Times and they have a paywall.
Uh,
But
I I can see this article.
okay. So this is like, it's not really the same thing. I guess it's like maybe vaguely related, but so there, this was this was one of the first times that I heard about like people doing just like crazy, like that's obviously bad stuff with AI. So there was a guy who entered an art contest with a piece of AI art and he won the art contest. And obviously the other competitors were not happy with that. And he was like, "Oh, it's fair cuz it in his like submission he said like his name and then like via mid journey." But like the judges didn't know what that meant. So like they were judging it as if he had actually created it. So that gets more into like passing AI art off as real art, which is actually against, at least for Dolly 2, it's against the terms of service to not tell people that it's AI generated. But um, yeah, so then there's, do you have thoughts about like, um,
Boy, do I. Yeah. Well, I mean, on the terms of service thing, that's not like an enforceable rule. That's
yeah,
just them covering their asses, which means like maybe it's not allowed, but that's not the sort of thing where like even say you do get caught um, doing something like this. Um, yeah, if you submitted something and pretended that you really did physically create it, let's say like you like actually painted it or like did it in Procreate, um, like there's nothing that's gonna stop people from doing more of that, even if they do get caught. And then also like there's something about like because it does take time to create, especially with the artwork that's the example in the New York Times. I actually saw this one.
yeah,
um and I think I saw a thread and dude was like trying to defend himself like no, like I spent hours and this was fun. I did so many different slightly different prompts and like I did everything to get it just right. But in the end, you're not the one. Like if you're thinking about this as a visual art, you're not the one doing the visuals. You're maybe the ideas guy, but
yeah,
you're not really the artist behind it. And it's like I don't know. Even if you're telling people like, yes, I made this with AI, it still feels wrong to me as somebody who loves physical media. Like, it still feels so wrong to take the amount of pride that people are taking in this when really like I can also come up with the idea of like big breasted anime women
yeah,
being at um it's just it feels incredibly disingenuous to me. And like what's striking about this image is it has a lot of the characteristics of like a lot of concept art. Like a lot of concept art, if you look towards the edges of this image, or like if you kind of are to zoom in on the detail, like there's a lot of these shapes are kind of like melding together, and you can definitely tell that there's this is an enormous built space and there are arches and really large columns. But if you kind of try to follow the architecture, nothing actually connects or makes sense.
yeah,
Uh, And it's like that's a lot of the times with concept art you'll get that when it's just like, okay, we're just throwing shapes together and we'll sort the rest out later, but this is
Yeah.
the final product. And it's
Yeah.
like where AI is right now is you can't get it that specific. You can't say like, okay, I need this column that's like in this
Yeah.
to like actually connect to the ground, or like maybe try to make sense structurally, or at least look like it makes sense structurally. um and like if you zoom in on any of these, most of these people are turned from the camera, which is
Uh-huh. Yeah.
a great feat because AI can't do faces very well. But
Yeah.
like, if you the more you zoom in, the more you find wrong with it. So it feels like this would have been awesome if the artist did all this, put the effort in as inspiration, and then used that as a way to then create a real piece of art,
Yeah.
um, physically or digitally, either way. But like, I feel like you have to take credit for it. You have to like do the artwork.
Mm. So, um, yeah, we'll come back to the concept art thing because there's another thing about that. But so in terms of getting credit for AI art, something that Yana said when I was interviewing her is that she thinks that um I don't know if any of the tools allow you to sell your AI art. I know I was looking at Dolly 2's thing earlier, and another thing that they have is you can't sell your stuff that you make with Dolly 2. But so if you were to sell a piece of AI art, who do you think should get the money? Yana said that it should be evenly split between the prompt maker and then the developers of the AI and then everyone in the data set, assuming there's a way to figure out everyone who's in the data set.
But there is no way to figure out everyone in the data set, right? Isn't that, wouldn't
Let's
that
just say there is for this example.
right? Wouldn't that be impossible?
I don't
I
know.
think, here's my take. If you can swindle somebody into buying your shitty digital art that you didn't, then you deserve the money. I think logistically, maybe I kind of like morally agree with Yana, but I think logistically, um, that sounds impossible to do.
Yeah, or I guess more just like philosophically, like which group should get the credit for what the AI creates?
Um, I think despite all of the stuff, all the negative things I've said about the people creating the AI artwork, I kind of would say it would be I think it makes sense going to them. Um, I can't imagine, like, I don't know, I don't think it. But then it's kind of getting into the NFT realm, right? Where it's like, why not just
Yeah,
write if it's just a PNG? Um, and like, if all it can truly be is just a digital file, like without being just like printed out of a printer.
yeah,
I mean, like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna say that if people were to be selling the art that they create through AI, um, I guess in my ideal world, maybe the person who codes it is gets something out of it, but like that brings me back to what I was saying about the King Jong-ji model, where it's like I don't like the dude who coded it isn't the artist to me. Like
yeah.
that's a tough question.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, related to what you just said, a lot of the tools, I don't think that Dolly 2 will let you do this, but Midjourney and Stable Diffusion let you put in your prompt like in the style of, and then like either like an art style or a specific artist. Like Stable Diffusion literally on the announcement page has like it's like a combination of Starry Night, Van Gogh, and forget the name of it. The famous one of the guy on top of a mountain, like looking out at the clouds.
Oh, yeah. I also can't remember the name.
Yeah, it's like a combination of those two.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So there's there's using specific art styles or specific artists' styles, and then there's also like there's this weird thing where people, I guess it's to like make it look like contemporary art or like popular art, or they'll say like in the prompt they'll put like trending on ArtStation or like that type of thing, where it's like I haven't done enough research to know like what does that actually change about the results, but yeah, what do you think about, I mean, you kind of already said what you think about using artists'
Yeah, well, I
styles, but
think definitely more on that.
okay.
Um, One thing that I've seen multiple times on Twitter now is people sharing art that they've generated using AI, and then people in the replies will say like, "Oh, what was your prompt for this?" And they'll give the whole prompt, and then they will keep the artists' names that they used to like generate out of that style hidden. Like it'll, girl, enormous breasts, that, and then they'll just say artist one, artist two, and like they don't want you to know the artist name because then you could copy them, except they are copying the artist, like
Yeah.
they're having the program create something that is specifically is supposed to look like work from a real person, and then as they share their recreation through that they had a computer do, they won't even disclose to other Twitter users which artists they're copying, so that they can also copy,
Yeah. There's
which
actually
is
the last article I sent is actually about this, but apparently I've read too many Wired articles, so now I can't read it. But
oh
yeah,
yeah,
so the main example they give is Simon Stellenhag. He's the guy who made this book. Have you seen this?
I have seen that image and I think other stuff by the guy, but not the book.
Okay. Anyway, contemporary like modern artist. He does like sci-fi stuff. There was a guy who was intentionally using his style because he knew that Simon had told people not to use his style in AI, and he was like, the guy said that he was intentionally doing this to trigger like a legal dispute that would like push AI forward. It was like
Okay,
crazy.
I'll admit that that's kind of cool, but
Yeah. I mean,
pretty,
yeah. After that, Simon was like, "You're crazy. Like, I don't just like sue people like randomly. Like,
my lord. Um, wow. Yeah, that is really absurd. Uh, like especially because I could imagine like if I were to imagine myself in that position, I would be like, oh well, this person doesn't want me to do this thing, so I'm gonna do it.
yeah,
And but then going and saying I did it to trigger a legal dispute. What are you talking about? That's absurd to me. But I'm curious to hear what the outcome will be of that because that's
I don't think there will be an outcome because the
yeah
artist
probably
was like, "I'm not gonna sue you over this." But
I guess it's more of just like it's a personal preference. Please don't use my artwork to like create your own.
yeah,
But unfortunately, it's still possible because you can't take your own photos like off Google. You can't take it out of wherever, however these algorithms are going to be sorting and looking for images and um, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of artists who are like, "Please do not use my style." Okay, here's a question. What do you think about doing it for non-living artists like Van Gogh, for example?
I'm
And also like ignore like the example of the guy who just died, because like obviously don't do that, but
Right, right. Yeah, I think for um I think it's a cool way to, because I think, if I wanted to do something like in the style of Mughal portraiture from the 1500s out of the Ottoman Empire or something, and I wanted to see what like George Washington would look like in this style, I think it's cool that we have the technology to be able to do that. But I think my issue comes with people who are like trying to share these things as their own. Like
yeah,
when it's beyond like haha funny, or like maybe like I'm just sharing for jokes and laughs, and like here is something that I'm proud of because I made this. That's where I really,
yeah,
somebody is doing this and they're like, oh, I had a computer do something that is supposed to be in the style of Van Gogh, but it's like the New York City skyline. Like that's fine to me. Like it's corny, and like I don't like, if somebody were to actually create that painting and I like saw it posted on Twitter, I'd be like, okay, buddy. I wouldn't be interested. So I don't know. I think it's cool what we can do with it. I just have problems with people who believe that it turns you into like an elite artist.
yeah. So there's like there's the group of people who want to be like accepted as artists. Um, they're like AI artistry is art, and like I'm actually creating art. And then there's like a subgroup of those people who want to be artists and want to use AI to be artists, but they don't want people to know that they're using AI to be artists.
Yeah.
It's like a really like blurry differentiation, but it's like
I, further you go down that rabbit hole, the more of an issue morally I have with that. But I also consider myself someone who is generally like, pro art, pro artists. I love to encourage myself and others to create art whenever you can. Like I think it's the best form of self-expression, this and that. So I feel there's part of me that feels really bad about like saying all these negative things about like using AI to create beautiful images, because at the end of the day that's what people are doing, is they're using a computer to create things that are beautiful, and I love things that are beautiful, like this, like the image in the example from the New York Times article. I do truly think like this is a really
yeah,
it's just that I find I have a big problem with people having a computer do your work for you and then passing it off as your own, because even if you're not doing it for financial gain, it's just like it's an ego boost. It's, I don't know what it is. It just feels immoral.
yeah. I agree with that. And there's also um I was looking at the my professor was telling me to like look more into like why these systems were created, and at least for Dolly 2, like their page is pretty empty, and it seems like it really just started as like an AI research project, and they just like accidentally made something cool, and they're like, hey, look at our cool thing. But then once you get further along, especially Stable Diffusion, if you look at their site, their like mission statement is like, I forget what the whole thing is, but at the end of it, it's like bringing the gift of creativity to all. So it's like it's this weird like democratization of art thing, that like that's how they're selling it now. It's no longer just like generate these cool wacky images that like look photoreal.
Yeah, and I think the accessibility of some of these is really interesting. Like plenty of this is free online. All you need is an internet connection,
Yeah.
a public library. If you have computer access, you have the world at your fingertips, to create basically anything that you could imagine, which is wonderful. That's so cool to me. Um, so but then when from the company's side, when they're trying to market that as like a, pay us $7.99 a month, and now you can use our service, that makes it feel even worse to me.
Hmm. Yeah. Stable Diffusion, I think, I don't even know if it runs. Maybe they have an online version, but I think there's a version that like runs on your GPU, and like that's how it's gotten like so widespread, is because like any random gamer can like run their own like Stable Diffusion instance.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Is that free?
I
My
think
fuck.
it. I think it's free. Um. Okay. So lastly, um, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but the there's the like future concerns about AI. So the first example I'll give is there I couldn't find it. I'm gonna keep trying to find it for the final video, but there was, I think it was in a video about AI art that I was watching, but they showed like an article. It was just like a normal news article. It was about Harvey Weinstein, and the key art at the top of the article was like a pretty normal article key art, except underneath it said like made with Midjourney or something. And it was,
Yeah, I saw one that it must have been like a month or two now, but it was like a screenshot of like an Alex Jones related article.
oh yeah, I think that must
It
have
was a
been it.
face like wad of like pink and flashy color, and it was like
Oh no, it was a
roughly.
different one.
It was just, man, like even like a royalty free photo would off Google would have been better. I don't know.
Yeah. So you are worried about um kind of the artist like ecosystem of like doing small commissions to like make your build your portfolio and make your name, essentially. You're worried about that being kind of overrun with AI.
Yeah, and um, you know, when photography became a thing, people were saying this about illustration. You know, because like every magazine ad, cover, journal was everything was illustrated, and like you know now
Yeah.
everything is
Kind of did
art.
happen to be honest.
And that like kind of did happen, and I feel like it's only going to get worse from here. And you know, regarding all other types of AI, you know, that are going to be putting, you know, all sorts of factory jobs and truckers and all sorts of different jobs out of business. It's like I feel like the visual arts, the creative world is almost it's like almost all we have left. You know,
Yeah.
it's like so sacred to me that it hurts to see like online publications. Like it's almost like even if you used a free image off Google, that's better. It just it feels wrong. It's just everything, every step feels like it's in the wrong direction. And I don't know what I would consider the right direction either. Is the issue?
Yeah. Um yeah, so there's that, and then there's the like kind of not even that really distant future, but let's call it distant future of like um so we've already seen like, I know you keep up with Star Wars, so obviously you know that Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker has now been replaced by both a deepfake for his face, and in Book of Boba Fett they also used a AI voice like cloning tool to do his voice.
Yeah.
Um and then I don't know if you know this, but in the Obi-Wan show, Darth Vader's voice, even though they credited James Earl Jones, was also AI generated.
Yeah, I did know that. Um, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I think um, I don't know. I'm really interested in like memory and legacy through art. And it I'm not looking forward to the inevitable future where celebrities now will be selling their faces, their likeness, their voices to corporations for infinite franchising of of their current products. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's so dystopian to me. It's like I would rather see a Han Solo that doesn't look like Han Solo but is a real person than a Han Solo that looks vaguely like Han Solo but is like a robot mess that like doesn't quite move right. You know what I mean? I but it just seems so inevitable. Like it's already happening. Didn't Bruce Willis sign away his like facial rights after he dies?
There,
For like,
yeah, there was. I don't remember. Probably there was
and I,
someone did. I don't remember who.
yeah, I don't know. It feels like they're like Disney is going to fucking actors like James Earl Jones and like making them an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah,
You like we're just gonna keep using you, and you're now completely irrelevant. And like, what happens when it gets to the point where they need a smaller and smaller and smaller sample size of what your voice actually sounds like to create really good recreations of that, and because then you're going to stop paying voice actors entirely, even while they're
yeah.
still. Um,
So do
so
you?
yeah,
My
I think
kind.
that's
Sorry, go ahead.
no, that I just go on. Sorry.
Okay. So you agree? My kind of like vision for the future. At least it seems like Disney is already going down this road, but like over time, fewer and fewer parts of say movies will be actually created by someone, so that eventually it'll be like an AI generated script with AI generated imagery, AI generated sound, and like all that. Do you think
Yeah.
that's like an inevitability at this point?
Um, Basically, yeah. I It's just like all of the technologies are slowly converging to be able to that they're getting to the point where things are going to get there. Like if voice is good enough, face is just about good enough.
Yeah.
Like script writing is probably good enough, you know? Like I don't it seems like you could get a team that would just have to be like, tweaking things, but you could probably create a mostly AI movie. And like I don't know, I really value like the creativity, like true creativity. And computers have no feelings, so they inherently cannot have creativity. They cannot be creative. They can only just like take what they learn from patterns. And like, humans' whole thing is that there's, we have pattern seeking brains, and, of course, we're going
Right.
to build, but it's just like it takes it too far. It takes it to the point where it's not coming out of anyone's conscious anymore. It's just like meshing together. And it also feels like we're going to get to the point where we can't make new ideas with AI because everything is just learned from
It's
stuff
like
that's already
feeding off of itself.
like everything eventually is going to be entirely what's the word I'm looking for? Every uh, derivative. Everything is
Yeah.
going to be derivative, and like the only things that can get anything new are actual creativity feeding into a system that then it's like, oh, a new idea now, and it can create something.
Yeah.
So, but it all here's but the thing is, I feel like every time I go see a Marvel movie, it may as well have already be created by AI. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm here for this consumerism that that I say that I hate so much that I would go to the world's first fully AI movie. I would be like, I might a couple bucks to see that in 3D.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of. Have you seen like? Probably haven't, but there's like examples online of like what happens when you like re-encode the same video over and over, and it just like deteriorates to the point of just being like complete like
oh,
unintelligible
I
noise.
remember their MKBHD did a thing
Yeah,
I remember watching of like re-uploading the same video over and over again to YouTube.
yeah. I feel like that's like what would happen if like the AI just like kept working off of like AI generated stuff. In
Yeah.
like 100 years, it'll just be like noise.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also hate that the AI is good enough in so many different fields that you could show me like something created by humans, something created by a computer, and you could have that gotcha moment where it's like, I
Yeah,
have to guess wrong, because and it's like I don't know. I feel like the content of the work isn't what I'm upset about. I feel it's really the concept of creation without creativity.
Yeah. Um, it's kind of a tangential question, but going back to the movies for a second, what do you think of like? Honestly, this is not AI related at all, but what do you think of like in not using deepfakes, but using like traditional visual effects to like recreate someone's likeness, like Tarkin or like Princess Leia from Rogue One?
Every time I see it in a movie, I'm always interested. I'm because I like the technology side of all of this stuff. Like I'm interested in technology. And I that is less like uh I don't like it. It feels wrong. It feels wrong to I don't know, recreate younger versions of people's selves or something, or like just recreate them once they've been dead for several years. And it like the most that you can do is ask people's current living family. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they got with Tarkin, they got permission from his family um, to use it. And it's like, well, okay, well, these people should have more of a say in whether his face is used than I do. Um, but I would rather you tell stories that don't need to artificially recreate things like that as much. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah. To me, it feels less bad when it's like actual people doing the work to do the recreation. But
Exactly.
yeah. Was my next question. Oh yeah. So especially for movies, so another thing I talked about with Yana is how um like kind of practical, well, this is kind of a bunch of different fields, but like vinyl records and like film photography and like practical effects in movies are all these things that have been like replaced with technology kind of, but there's like niche communities kind of surrounding all of them, um especially like film and vinyl, but um the general public seems to not really. One, I don't think that a lot of people could tell the difference. And two, even if they could, I don't think they would care very much. So do you think that like human art will eventually be in that position of like having a niche community that's like dedicated to like keeping it going, but the general public just like doesn't really care?
I could see it happening. I mean, I would expect that that'd be a long way out, but yeah, I am a lover of physical media, and a lot of my favorite art forms are heavily process based. Like woodblock printmaking is one of my favorites, and that is it's all about the process. And I think that physical media is like dying, but I you with the examples of like how popular and honestly how trendy things like collecting vinyl and film photography for like 15-year-olds is like I don't know. I think it's such a part of our history that like I don't think physical media is going away entirely, but yeah, unfortunately it's going to have less of a market share for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of history, you have a unique perspective kind of because you're an art history major. Um yeah, what implications on art history do you think that AI art is going to have?
That's a great question. um I don't know. I guess I'll just talk through some thoughts.
All right.
um I think where it is right now, the the people who control a lot of like the art world, like that, like 1% of one percenters who own the top, the most Warhols and shit like that. Um, I would imagine that it would not be in their best interest to hype up AI art as something um, like that people could be like investing in or something. Like I would imagine that like the elite art collectors aren't interested in NFTs very much, but that's some I haven't thought about that before. So I think right now the art world probably feels like it's still pretty disconnected from it, and then it's going to leach in soon enough. Um, and I think it's going to start with like how we were talking before about like online magazines or newspaper publications, or you write an article and rather than hiring one illustrator to like whip up a comic or something, like how the New Yorker comics look, you just plug a prompt into your computer and copy paste that in, and you own the artwork because you wrote the text. And I think it's definitely going to start more like that, and I think things will affect artists at a smaller scale much before they affect um,
Like the art world.
properly practicing studio artists. Um, but like I don't know, art's always evolving, and you can't stop evolution of anything. So um, whether it's for better or for worse, I don't know. I think as long as people have to have conversations about it, but I don't know how it like. Because so much of it is about selling your work, selling yourself as an artist, selling your brand, selling what you create. And if you are using AI and you're selling that work, I guess we kind of already talked about how stupid that is.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know where it's gonna go, because I've seen stuff about museums rather than having like physical sculptures. They'll have like a hologram projection,
Yeah.
and it's like I'd refuse to give a museum my trying to sell me on a hologram. It's like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm here for. Like I want to see the thing in person. That's why I'm here in person. It's not the same otherwise. So I don't know. I think you lose this like you lose the connection between like artists and canvas with computers in a way that I personally am not willing to forfeit.
What do you think? I guess to end it off, do you think there's anything that can be done about all the issues with AI art, or do you think it's just kind of like what Yana said? Is it there'll be an eventual political revolution that will like uh transform the art world, like make people care about human art and stuff?
Whoa, yeah, like we're gonna go through a period that's AI art for so long, and then we're gonna have like one great artist again, and like the next
Yeah.
fucking.
Well,
Um,
specifically, she was saying like honestly, the main issues with AI art are that artists will lose their jobs, and losing your job is bad because under capitalism, you don't have anything when you lose your job. So there's kind of
yeah,
a wider like profit discussion.
I think what we need to do is convince people now. We need a nationwide influencer campaign to convince everyone that AI art is dumb unless you're using it as a utility. For instance, something that I've considered, haven't done yet, but like I'm working on a printmaking project right now, and I have a document that's like 40 pages of visual inspiration. And what I was thinking of doing is trying to use AI to help me come up with some, maybe compositions that I hadn't considered yet, or I don't know, just like I've got all these ideas and I've been doing a bunch of sketching, but maybe if I did something with my sketches and put those into AI, I could come up with something even cooler or be inspired to come up with something even cooler. But it's just about passing that art off as my own is where I have that. Like, I don't know. Like if that was the final step, it doesn't feel like enough. Um, so I think we just need like Shaq to tell everyone that's stupid and then everyone will listen.
Yeah. Um, cool. Do you have any final words?
um, let's see. I guess all I have to say in the end is that I'm a fan of technology progressing, but I'm also a fan of creativity staying true to the human spirit and like I don't know. It just seems like we're headed towards more another age of everybody stuck in a fucking cubicle or something. I don't know, man. It's fucking no, because AI is going to replace the cubicle jobs too. What we're headed towards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess that's about all I have to say. I mean, I could rant about this Kim Jong Gi stuff for longer if you wanted me to, but um, oi oi oi.
Yeah.
I actually
All right.
want to read the articles that you sent in full. There's
Yeah.
one about the Trump thing is cool.
I honestly didn't read most of them because I already like knew the story, but I bet they are interesting write-ups.
Well, yeah, the borrowed or stolen one, I'll probably read, but I know the stories of a couple others. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Good shit, man. That was awesome.
Thank. Hey, for CS later, maybe if we
Yeah,
get five.
man. Let's go.
Uh,
All right.
yeah.
Thanks for